So no one heard any of that.
No.
Okay.
Okay, let's try that again. There we go. Hello, everyone! Welcome to the stream. My name is Mega Sakari. Again, don't mind me. It's not like I thought we were streaming this entire time. No, I know what I'm doing. Hello, everyone. It's been a minute, as you can probably see from my history. Tonight's a very special night. A very special night indeed.
How special is it?
Very special, because you're here. You're the guest of honor.
Oh, goody.
Tonight, I am having a wonderful interview with the one and only Adam, formerly known as Chibi, currently known as Aquana, streamer, questionable individual, but
Among other things.
Among other things. But questions that we have, questions that will have answers tonight. And tonight we're going to have an interview. A wonderful interview, a conversation with not only myself, but a very special guest later on tonight. Now, Mr. Aquana, are you ready for tonight's questions again?
Yes, I am.
Alright, cool. Would you like to introduce yourself to the audience? You know, give us a palatable taste of who you are for someone who may not know who you are.
Right. Well, so my name is Adam. I was formerly known as Chibi or Chibi Necodemics, depending on how far back you want to go. Currently known as Aquana, 32 years of age. I stream sometimes when I'm not super busy or when I'm not doing stupid shit. But right now I'm currently employed full-time. I am a homeowner, and I'm about 3 months away from graduating from Full Sail University with a bachelor's degree. So that's been my priority or main focus so far.
Nice. What would you say you're best known for?
So being brutally honest, I'm known for a lot of infamous reasons most people probably already know. And the most well-known, definitely being the "I'd really prefer if you would be quiet" guy. In fact, I still hear that line almost 10 years to this day. As far as other things, I won't go into too much detail since most of what has happened with me over the last however long I've been around are pretty easily found online with a quick Google search. But I definitely wish to one day change that for the better, because right now everybody has very bad impressions of me based on my history and because of my repeated behaviors. And one day when I can finally, after I kick myself in the ass enough times and, you know, actually address what's wrong with me, I would like to change that and one day return to creating content, since it is something that I'm very passionate about doing and it's enjoyable to me. But first things first, I need to address my issues that have long gone unaddressed. So that's pretty much that in a nutshell.
You're known for doing cosplays. You know, a few cosplays here and there. It's not like the thing you're known best of, but it's something that does come up every once in a while with the conversation. Is there a particular cosplay that you are most proud of?
So the one that I'm probably the most proud of is, I would say, recently I did Roxas from Kingdom Hearts 2, which is it's not super complex. It's more like street clothes, but I had to piece a lot of the cosplay together. I did buy the shirt and the pants together, but the pants came the wrong color, so I had to manufacture a tea dye and basically soak the pant legs in the tea until they got dyed the correct color, and that was a process. Not one I hope to ever do again, but I am happy with how they turned out regardless. And then the wig I did for him, I actually did 2 iterations of the wig. The first one was made out of only 1 wig, and the second one was made out of 2 wigs stitched together, that I used a lot of new wig styling techniques I did not know the first time. So I'm very happy with how the second wig ended up turning out. And I also have made 2 life-size replicas of the Oathkeeper and Oblivion Keyblades, which are really cool, and everybody always gives me compliments on those whenever they see them, so I'm really happy with how those turned out too. And the other one I'd say I'm probably the most proud of would be my Phoenix Wright. It's not a super simple. It's a super simple cosplay. It's a blue suit, blue pants, dress shoes, tie. But I'd say the thing that I am proud of the most is also his wig, because that was actually the first time I ever really styled a wig. And it was much more work than just a regular wig styling, because I actually followed a step-by-step tutorial, which also involved me having to get the model data from Phoenix Wright Dual Destinies and import that into a papercraft program called Pepakura Viewer. And so I actually ended up making the pattern that I made was literally based on the actual in-game model. That's kind of how wild I went with it.
Huh.
But it's been a while since I touched it up. It is admittedly falling apart, and I would like to, with the wig knowledge that I have now, I'd like to try it again. But right now, not my main focus. So just got to get all my other stuff out of the way first, and maybe I can come back to that.
Cool. That is definitely an intriguing way of styling a wig, from what I've been told. So,
I mean, felt is a lot of the bigger wig stylists use, and they incorporate a lot of other media into their wigs other than just the hair itself. And that's where you really start to see those really crazy hairstyles become possible. I don't know if you've ever seen a Yugi cosplayer. I've seen quite a few of them, and they have these really sick, insane wigs. And a lot of that has to do with using wig filler and using foam or cardboard or something to kind of hold that shape together. So yeah, it's very the rabbit hole goes pretty deep with that. But for my first attempt at a major complicated wig, I'm pretty happy with how that turned out.
Nice. Moving on. You've had some major controversies in the last 10, 15 years. Is there a particular event that still plagues you to this day?
Oh boy. Alrighty. Well, to be honest, all of them do to some degree or another. I mean, obviously, there are some that have much more significance than others do, and others have impacted me more. But the ones I probably regret the most is, I would say, the SGDQ couch incident, since that was mostly just me not being able to take social cues correctly. The cheating incident, which was me trying to gain other people's approval and acceptance by forcing my way into a community and trying to be good at a game I was clearly not good at. And the Iwata funeral idea. Let's not even talk about that. That was just fucking stupid. But the list goes on and on. I mean, there's a lot. Essentially, it all boils down to a lot of making the same mistakes over and over again to different extremes due to an overpowering desire for acceptance or validation. And it's not something I will excuse myself for, and right now I'm putting very hard focus on curbing these behaviors and learning to stop them at the source.
Okay. Moving on to a question about a recent debacle that has happened at the Colossalcon 21 Plus Discord.
Okay, bring it on.
So the picture with your cat on your penis. What was your thought process on that?
Oh boy. All right. Well, so that it was weird as fuck. I mean, you know that the Colossalcon Discord, the NSFW chat, everybody's posting lewds and nudes of themselves to some degree. Honestly was not meant to be taken out of context, and I'm sure a lot of people are taking it out of context. So I think my thought process was, I thought having other subject matter in the shot would be more appealing to look at than just a straight up nude. But definitely can see how people thought it was weird, and in hindsight, yeah, it was fucking weird.
To piggyback off that, I understand it because photography, you need to have something to associate with it to make it better and stuff. But why your cat?
Because she came on my lap. She just so happened to be there, and yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I can't explain it. It was stupid and fucking weird.
Why am I getting deja vu with Shane Dawson all of a sudden? Anyway, let's move on to the next question.
Oh god, I can't believe you made that comparison.
You've recently had a trip to Japan. Did you enjoy your trip? And if so, was it what was the best things about said trip?
Okay. So, my trip to Japan, I absolutely enjoyed it. It was a very transformative trip. And I've been wanting to do that for a long, long time. And I'm glad that I finally got the chance to do so. So for those who don't know, I went to Japan for 2 weeks back in January with a group of people who were neurodivergent. It's a travel group that basically helps neurodivergent individuals basically see different parts of the world. And I went there for 2 weeks. We stayed in various locations, and it was honestly it was pretty much everything that I've ever wanted it to be, because I was very worried about going just because I've never gone out of the country, and I've never thought that if I went to Japan that I would be able to survive there, since I hardly know the language for starters, and it's just a completely different environment altogether. But I did a lot of really cool things there. Like I saw some really cool buildings. So we went to Akihabara, we went to Osaka, we went to we explored a little bit of Tokyo, not a lot, but it was, like I said, it was something I've been wanting to do for a long time. I also definitely enjoyed walking around the temples. There were quite a few temples that were actually active temples. We got to walk around and look around. We made offerings at them, and just kind of seeing the hot springs. We went to a small town called Kinosaki Onsen, where we got to visit a bunch of different hot springs. That was definitely one of the highlights of the trip. But I think that and the best thing about the trip was also being able to go to USJ, which, for those who don't know, is Universal Studios Japan. I got to see Super Nintendo World Japan for the first time, which was, I think, only a few months before the one in Hollywood opened up. And it was honestly, I felt like a child visiting Disneyland for the first time. It was like surreal, like seeing all of the different environments recreated and seeing the characters. Like you could see Princess Peach, you could see Toad, you could see Mario and Luigi, and like everything was just, it was so cool. But there's still a lot that I haven't seen yet, and I would love to go back and experience more.
Nice. I personally wanted to check out Japan myself. It's just that, from what I've been told and from my research, it's a money pit.
It can be a money pit. It really just depends on how you budget. I've noticed that a lot of people have reservations of going to Japan just based on the ticket price alone. Usually tickets, like international tickets, cost anywhere from like $1,500 to $2,000 on average. And a friend of mine actually told me about she doesn't use like Expedia or Travelocity or any of those other travel sites, because they actually take a part of the they basically bill a part of the what is it? They basically include into your ticket price, part of that is overhead for using their service, which I had no idea they did that. So what I've been doing is I've been using Google Flights, and basically I typed in a date and like a date range and 2 cities I wanted to fly between. And I've actually found quite a few points in time, because the ticket prices fluctuate all the time. I found quite a few of them that actually went down as low as like $800 for a round trip ticket from Los Angeles to Tokyo Narita, which is ridiculously cheap for an international ticket, mind you. But yeah, it definitely can be a money pit. There's a lot of, like, especially in Akihabara, they have a lot of like gambling centers, like they call them game corners, but yeah, it's very easy to spend a lot of money there.
Pachinko, but not Chapinko. Pachinko hell, yeah.
Yep, exactly. I got to see a couple of the pachinko machines in Japan. They got a lot of really interesting designed machines, and a lot of them are designed around anime. Go figure.
Well, let's move on.
Okay.
There is a term that explains your recent debacles known as, quote, the Chibi cycle.
The Chibi cycle. Mm-hmm.
Used more prolifically on the Kiwi Farms forum.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who don't know, allow me to read what the Chibi cycle is. Step 1. Does cringy shit and receives negative attention. Step 2. Has public mental breakdown for asspats from the Discord. Step 3. Goes on break to, quote, find self. And step 4. Has an epiphany about what cringy shit to do next. And the cycle continues. Do you have any insight into this term?
So I didn't actually know all of like the steps that you described. I actually tried my best to sort of come up with my own interpretation of it. Let me see. Okay, so I think how I put it was, first I do something to get me in trouble due to one reason or another, which is exactly what you described. Then fallout happens. Like you said, I have a mental breakdown or something on Twitter, or I decide that I'm going to go do something, that I probably shouldn't be doing, whether it's like having suicidal thoughts or suicidal ideation in a greater degree, just to try to get as much attention as possible. Then I end up spiraling for a while and throw pity parties, and then I say how sorry I am and how things will be different, and then things are different for a little while, and then it's right back where I started again, because I did something stupid, and the cycle continues from there. But no, it's based on my past behaviors. I mean, they pretty much hit the nail on the head. That's exactly how my behavioral cycle would often work, is once I realize the gravity or the weight of the situation that I put myself in, that's when it all starts to really become clear, and I realize, oh, I really fucked up, didn't I? And that's when I start blaming myself. That's when I start throwing the pity parties, the temper tantrums, this, that, and yeah, it pretty much almost happened exactly the same way this time too. I was talking to a friend. I've been talking to a friend of mine that is also part of the Colossalcon group, but he has basically been trying to kind of rehabilitate me in his own way. And I was doing the same thing with him. I was always saying, he was asking me, "Hey, how are you doing?" And that was literally like opening the floodgates for me to say, "Oh, this is going wrong, and that's going wrong, and oh, poor me." And eventually he's like, "All right, dude, you gotta fucking stop. Like, this, I'm trying to help you. I understand you're going through a lot of shit right now, but not everybody wants to hear pity parties 24/7. And if you're looking to change, that is not how you do it." And that right there, I feel like, was the sort of snap back to reality that I needed to really realize, oh, you know what? I'm back in the fucking same cycle that I'm always in, and I need to fucking do something about this, because if I don't, then the Chibi cycle is going to continue all over again. And if that happens, nothing will ever change, and things will continuously and gradually get worse.
I think that was a very good answer, if I'm honest. Anyway, next question. Very awkward question, but a question nonetheless.
Oh boy.
Did you actually sing an anime music video song at your dad's funeral?
So a lot of people say that I did. I did not actually sing it at my dad's funeral. So what happened was I made a video of myself basically karaoke singing a song. It was from an anime called Kanon, Kanon. And the name of the song is called Last Regrets. It is the opening song to that anime. It is a very sad song. And I set it up that had like basically a black background, and I had the lyrics pop in on screen every now and then. Basically, what it was like part me singing the song and part a sort of a slideshow of pictures and memories taken from my dad's life. But I did not actually sing in person at either the funeral home or the funeral itself. I had that video and I showed it to his friends and loved ones at the funeral home itself.
So not at the funeral per se, but
no,
close enough to where people would misinterpret it.
Correct. And I actually I think I remember that Al and my old friend John, both of them were actually at the funeral home. Not the funeral service, but the funeral home. I believe they were there when that happened, so they could probably vouch for that accuracy.
All right. Good to know. Next question. There have been reports of you dating underage girls when you were younger, something that you yourself have admitted to and explained. Do you feel that you have moved on with what has happened, or do you feel there is still some penance that needs to be paid?
So, first off, I know this shit's wrong. And I've moved on personally, but because of what's happened and because of how people interpret the situation differently, it's going to follow me, and it's probably going to follow me to my grave. I mean, that kind of thing is extremely frowned upon, especially in today's society, and for very good reason. But other people will learn about this history, and they'll immediately get put off by it. I've definitely I've faced my fair share of persecution in the court of public opinion. And doing something like that in today's day and age is considered a massive red flag and not something that's easily forgotten or swept under the rug. And it doesn't matter how many years will pass. So, to answer your question, in short, I hope to one day, I obviously people won't ever forget what happened, and it's basically much like every other wrong that I've committed, but I can at least acknowledge that that is not the person that I am anymore. And I do not have any interest in associating or converting with anyone who is under the age of 18 or even under the age of 21 for that matter. Because at my age, I don't have time for that shit anymore. I am a grown-ass adult. I need to have grown-ass adult friends, and it's not worth my time trying to associate with people who still who are still practically children. It doesn't benefit anybody.
I just want to say, I'm just going to take a pause and say that this jazz music is just so on point right now. That's great. Hold on. Let me share the stream because it is a stream. So that way, because smooth jazz helps smooth things out, Anyway, let's continue. I'm going to jump to a question. I'm going to start jumping around here for quick because my next question is something that you mentioned in DMs, but something I want to hear you say as well. You were invited to a mutual associates Friendsgiving event a few years ago. Reportedly, you were rude during this event, commenting about the size of the apartment as well as being openly flirty with the party members. Any insight on this incident?
Yep. So the Friendsgiving thing, I think that was Shan that put that together. I don't remember a whole lot about it per se because I feel like I spent a lot of that night either intoxicated or drunk. I not sure about the comments I also made in terms of the apartment. If I did say something, it was probably very wholly unnecessary, and I can definitely understand where that might have upset them. And as far as flirting with people there, again, my memory is shit when it comes to that event. I can barely remember anything that happened beyond, like, I think we played a couple games. Though it definitely sounds like something I might have done, and not necessarily because I was drunk or sober. So if either of those things did happen, I sincerely apologize for acting rude and behaving that way.
Sticking to recent debacles, the Colossal 21 Plus group.
Here we go.
It booed you for reportedly, because again,
Yep.
under legal stipulations, I have to say reportedly. Booed you for reportedly sending unsolicited nudes. What went through your mind when this happened?
Right. So this and this actually is kind of combining with another one of your answers, or rather another one of your questions in regards to that. So I'm basically going to be answering both of those questions at the same time. So I'll try to summarize this the best I can, since I've already explained it multiple times. But as I'm sure you're aware, because you're a part of it, the Colossalcon 20 plus Discord, or 21 plus Discord, NSFW chat is pretty much where everybody hangs out and talks. Nobody really talks in any of the other channels. And I wanted to try to meet people and fit in with everybody who they were commonly posting lewds or nudes of themselves, which at first I was not entirely comfortable with because, number one, I have really bad body dysmorphia and I hate the way I look, especially naked. And number two, there's quite a few nudes of myself that have been leaked already. But in general, everybody was very, very supportive of me. And I started by posting, tasteful lewds of myself in the group chat, which they were very supportive of. And I was also trying my best to gas other people up whenever they posted a lewd of themselves. And sometimes it would come in the form of either mild or aggressive flirting. Saying, "Oh man, you're so hot," or something like that. But as the night went on, that particular night, people posted more and more pictures of each other, and I thought that I could try to step outside my comfort zone a little bit, maybe feel a little bit more confident in myself. And so I said, "Hey, whoever reacts to this, I will send them something to their DM." Kind of a vague thing on its own, but I'll get into that later. But to that post, 3 people made a reaction, and in my head, again, this was the tipping point here, because in my head, I thought that those reactions, answering my question in that post, was basically the consent that I needed to do what I wanted to do. And later, before I did what I did, I told the chat I was sending it soon. Again, not saying exactly what I was sending. And one person who was not there at the time of my initial post supposedly wanted me to send it as well to them. So in total, it was sent to 3 girls and 1 guy. And it was a video of myself out and climaxing. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that. But in response to that, 2 of the girls gave me compliments. They said, like, "Oh, well, I appreciate you sharing that with me. It was really hot." Or I think one of them said, told me I was so cute. I don't remember exactly. I have screenshots that I took. And then there was one guy that I actually also sent it to. And he said, "Oh, well, it's not really my thing, but I appreciate you being open about it." Which, it made me feel good. It made me feel a little bit more confident in myself, and not like I didn't have to be ashamed of how I looked. But in my mind, at that time, I definitely had a feeling that I shouldn't have done it, especially while I was doing it, since it was really embarrassing. And to be honest, I was very embarrassed after doing it. But it goes back to what I said earlier. I wanted validation, and I wanted more confidence. And looking at it now, it was very fucking weird to send a video of myself doing that to people I hardly knew much about, that I only knew probably for a few days. And I should have double checked to make sure that everybody had fully consented to what I was sending them and to make sure that they knew exactly what it would be. But of course, this led to a few days later being removed from the Discord by the mods. And then following that, the widespread infamy I've had to endure after what had happened was made public in the Facebook group of over 6,000 people.
For context, for people who are watching and don't know exactly what happened, when Adam got booted from the 21 Plus Discord and the Facebook group even, there was a very public, very angry post mentioning the incident, which as of the time of this live stream has garnered over 177 comments and a crap ton of reactions to it. So quite a few people in the Colossalcon stream knew of the incident and even became meme again. Anyway, continue.
Doesn't surprise me in the slightest. But I fully regret what happened, and even to this day, I feel terrible because I lost so many potential friends and people that I really could have gotten along with. And despite what I was feeling and what my inner voice was saying, it sounded like people did like me, but this was not something that people were going to tolerate or associate with me ever. And I would not be surprised if many people, or anyone really, would ever feel comfortable with me going to Colossal or any convention ever again.
Well, you know what they say, these instances, they come and go. Anyway, next question. During your trip to Japan, going back to the Japan trip, did you actually compare dick sizes with your fellow travel goers?
So yeah, in my head, I did. I told you we went to several hot springs, and as customary, everyone has to be fully naked when inside the hot springs. And so when I went to the hot springs, I went there with my travel guides and a few of the people who were traveling with me. And obviously that was something that drew my eye. And it was something that got me very self-conscious because I saw how much more endowed they were than I was. And obviously it made me embarrassed about myself. So take that however you will. It's not the worst thing I've heard online if word gets out that I don't have the biggest dick on the planet.
It's fine. At least your dick's not crooked like Christian's. Anyway, next question.
Oh boy, what a comparison.
There was an incident at Necto, a nightclub, where you reportedly left a friend at the club after finding out that they were seeing another person, a man. During this incident, it was said that you took hostage their belongings. Is there truth to this story, or is there more to it?
There's definitely more to it. I'm not sure exactly how that story got out in the first place, but I'll elaborate. So, on that night, I was under the impression that my friend and I were actually on a date together, since she had been messaging me about how she was being abused and lied to by the person that she was currently with. We had talked I think we had talked like a night or two before on Instagram Messenger, and she was basically venting to me about how awful this person was. And I told her, if this person's so awful, why are you still with him? I mean, just, sometimes you just have to put your foot down, say enough's enough. And I think a day or so later, I convinced her to tell him how she really felt. And she had actually told me that she had broke things off. So I was under the impression that him and her were completely done, and she wasn't talking to him anymore. So then I was like, hey, you know, so why don't we to kind of commemorate this and get your mind off of everything that's happened, why don't we go to like Ann Arbor, we can go around, or maybe go to Necto? And she was like, yeah, okay. So then she got dressed up to go dancing. She had on a very, let's say, a rave outfit. And I picked her up from her house. We went around the city, and then eventually we ended up going to Necto, where we danced there together for a while. And then later on, this was like towards midnight, her supposedly ex-boyfriend actually just showed up. So like out of nowhere, this guy who she had told me and explicitly said I was not seeing him or interacting with him anymore, just ended up showing up anyway. And then when he got there, she basically told me, do you mind if he takes me home instead? So not only did she lie to me, but she also made me feel like crap, because I was under the impression that it was just going to be us there tonight, and she wanted him now to take her home. So it was just like, all right, so where does that leave me? I'm just third wheeling over here. So at that point, I felt really betrayed, and I lied to, and essentially just kind of left right then and there. And it took me a while to get back to my car, because I think my car was parked some random parking space in the middle of the city, and I had no idea where to go or how to get back there because my phone was dead. And eventually I made it back, and then I immediately left for home. But what I didn't realize is I think she must have stored a bunch of her stuff. I think like a makeup bag or something. I don't know exactly what was in it, but she left something in my glove box. And a couple days later, she wrote me saying that she left her stuff in there. And I think a couple days after that, I met her, and I think I also left some stuff with her too. So I think she gave me, I think it was like my cosplay makeup or something, and then I gave her her bag. I don't know if, oh no, it might have been, was it her wallet? I don't remember exactly what it was. It was either a makeup bag or a wallet. But that was basically what that incident was.
So one could say that you basically got friend zoned on the spot, and like, did you even get gas money for that?
I don't think so.
Damn.
I don't remember her giving me gas money at all.
That sucks.
Yeah, no, I was really annoyed, and it's just like I was so depressed walking back to my car because I felt like so stupid that I actually trusted her. And you know, she basically told me, hey, you know, I'm not seeing this person anymore. I followed your advice. Everything's done. We're not going to talk anymore. And then not even a couple days later, there he is, right there at the club.
Damn. Anyway, let's move on. Because damn, that sucks. What is magnetic therapy, and why were you being treated with it?
Okay. So magnetic therapy, it's a lot like shock therapy, but it's less invasive. And it works by having a machine deliver an electromagnetic pulse to a certain spot on the head, in succession. It's supposed to target an area in the brain which helps with emotional regulation, and it's meant to treat treatment-resistant depression.
It sounds like, this is just my perspective, it sounds like several steps away from like a lobotomy, the way you described it.
Kind of, but
it also sounds like soft core shock therapy.
You could probably call it that. It's like one step away from shock therapy. There's a lot of people yelling outside my window. I wish they'd shut the hell up. It's always the same people. Anyway, so I was being treated for a while. However, because of my work schedule, I was not always able to make it on time, especially because my manager at the time was an asshole. And he did not really allow me a whole lot of leverage when it came to my mental health. And so during my final few sessions, I had to rush over there to make it for an appointment. I think I was like 30 minutes away, and the person who administered the test said they had to leave in like 20, so I had to rush as fast as I could, and I think speed a couple times down the freeway. But I was not able to be seen for my appointment because the clinician had already left before I got there. And I talked to the receptionist, and she was like, yeah, no, you just missed them. They had to go. And I was really visibly frustrated because I tried as hard as I could to make it all the way out there because I knew how important this was, and I didn't want to miss a session, especially in the last few sessions, because I think the last sessions I think had to go a little bit longer. But when I was there, I angrily pounded my fist on the counter, not super hard, but like enough to kind of disturb a couple of like the objects on the counter, and I just said, damn it. And then I ended up leaving as soon as I calmed down. But apparently, later on that day, the presiding doctor called me and said that I was banned from coming back there because, according to him, I was supposedly violent and yelling at his staff, which, even to this day, I do not remember. The only thing I remember, yes, I was upset, and I think I'm pretty sure the worst I said was "damn it," or not even, like, I don't think I said anything worse than that. I honestly do not remember. But he said he would not be pressing charges as long as I agreed not to return there again, and I agreed. So, yeah, to this day, what happened in that office is still a mystery to me. I don't know if I'm right, I don't know if he's right, but that's pretty much how that ended. And it was a shame because we ended up paying a lot of money for that magnetic therapy. It was not cheap.
So okay, so you basically confirmed that you did get kicked out of the magnetic therapy clinic.
Yeah.
So with that said, does that mean that you...
The only reason why I elucidated on that was because I'm pretty sure that was also already public knowledge.
Yeah. Well, that raises a question. Following up with that, this is just on the spot question. Have you considered shock therapy? If it's the next step.
I mean, so my stepdad had to go through shock therapy because he had really bad depression. I think after we got back from our family trip to Mexico, this was like well over 15 years ago when I was still a kid, he got really, really depressed. And I think the only way that the only option he had at the time was shock therapy. And I heard that it was really painful. And I never want to go through something like that because I don't know, like it's a very invasive process that can also cause irreparable damage.
I see. Anyway, let's move on to something a little bit more cheery.
Okay.
You cosplayed as Joker. Joker from Persona, not Joker from DC. In Tokyo during your Japan trip. Are you proud of that accomplishment?
So it was definitely something on my bucket list for sure. As you know, cosplay is something I really enjoy, and it actually got me interested in Japan and their culture to begin with. As soon as I first got into the cosplay scene, that's how I got introduced to anime and manga and all that stuff. So being able to cosplay there was definitely a really cool experience. But also taking into account the culture of Japanese people, I wanted to make sure that the cosplay that I chose was not one that would attract a lot of attention. So that's why I chose not Joker per se, but the actual cosplay was Ren Amamiya, which is basically Joker's alter ego, is his actual identity, but in his school uniform. And seeing people in school uniforms, like either on the street or on a train in Japan, is very common. So I figured doing that, I pretty much blend right in. People wouldn't be giving me like a second look or anything like that. But as far as doing more of that, I would definitely love to cosplay more in Japan. Maybe do like photo shoots or something of different characters. But there's definitely a time and a place for everything. So
cool. Oh, let's see here. Yeah, let's do this one. During the catfish scandal last year, which, funny enough, was the same time where we were planning on staying at Colossalcon together last year, you made a comment saying that you were, quote, a pervert, but with class.
Oh boy, that's cringy. I hate that. I hate that so much.
It's almost like Master Roshi's saying those words. Would you like to clarify?
Oh my god. Alright, so I'm pretty sure that was also not the first time that I've said that to someone, which is also extremely regrettable. I guess my best interpretation as to what I feel like that could have meant was that I'm usually careful to ensure that any sexual conversation or sexual humor that I have is okay by the other person, and they're typically not bothered by it. And honestly, the thing that I said, the way that's phrased, like, it's fairly not offensive, but God, it could have been worded so much better.
I love it. I think it's a great phrase that should be used more often in society, honestly.
I don't know. I still feel it's cringy, but whatever.
Let's see here. For the sake of time, I'm gonna just skip over some of these more meh. Like, I'm only skipping over 2 questions. So
okay.
You have mentioned that you were in school for game design. Have you made any demos or showcases during your lessons that are worth sharing?
So not quite yet. I've done a few projects independently and as a team as like homework assignments, but nothing so far that I feel like I'm confident enough to show a potential client. A lot of the projects that I've done so far were, I would say, like, very basic, like block mesh. If people who aren't familiar with that term, it's basically like blocking out a level with like very primitive shapes and like getting the actual mechanics scripted and implemented the way that it's supposed to work in the final level. But over the next 3 months, I'm actually going to be doing capstone work before I graduate. This month I have to make a entire level that it's a non-linear level with multiple winding paths and non-required objectives and required objectives in the span of 1 month. So I'm currently in the process of planning that out, and I'm basically doing like a mood board, trying to put together a map as to like what everything's going to look like. And I have a general idea of what I want to do, but I don't have the level layout entirely mapped out in my head yet. So over the next few days, I'm probably going to be fleshing that out a little bit more. But the projects that we're going to be working on over the next 3 months, this month included, are meant to be like portfolio pieces. So I aim to have some things to show soon. And I also plan on going back and fleshing out projects that I've worked on before, like block meshing projects and stuff like that, that were a little bit more simple, and make them look nicer, or putting in some assets to make them look a little bit more polished and finished.
All right. Sounds fun. Can't wait to see what comes out of it. It has been reported that you were originally planned on moving down to Florida. However, since your trip to Japan, you have been very supportive of the idea of moving there instead, a la like PewDiePie. Is this still the case, or have you been reconsidering the idea as of late?
So it's an idea that I've been lending close consideration to. I still haven't exactly decided whether I want to or not, what I'd like to do is I'd like to try to apply for the JET program. For those who don't know, the JET program is a program that helps people become like an ALT in Japan, and it's a little bit more. I think it's a government sanctioned program, so it's usually the salary is a bit higher than your average ALT, which is about 250,000 yen, or roughly like 1,800 a month in like your monthly salary. Whereas the JET program, you'd be making closer to I think 4 million annually, I believe. I think that's correct. So I'd like to get into that if I can, and if not, maybe try to get into get my start either as a base, like a bare level ALT, and then once I'm actually living in Japan, because a lot of employers that like post want ads for jobs in Japan require you to actually be living there. So more than likely, if I don't get into the JET program and I do end up wanting to move to Japan, I'll probably have to start as an ALT first for at least a month or two, and then once I actually have my feet firmly planted on Japanese soil, that's when I'll start putting in like my resumes and stuff like that for actual game design jobs, which I've actually found quite a few already, but I don't have anything to really put on my resume that I would like to present to them at this time. But hopefully after these next 3 months of school, I can have a well-polished portfolio and a decent enough body of work. But ideally, what I'd like to do is I'd like to spend at least a year or more there, just so I can see everything that I want to see and experience everything that I want to experience. And this time in my life is probably the best time to do it, because I'm about to graduate and I could easily find my way out there as an ALT and find a job while I'm living there. And since I'm not married or have children yet, I don't have to be tied down to one spot. So however, I've been doing my research and learning the language pretty intensively and making preparations. If this is something that I want to do, then I don't want to have any regrets in doing so, or do it with half-hearted feelings. So this is definitely something that I'm putting a lot of thought and care into doing, because yes, this would be a really cool thing to do and a really cool place to explore and experience. But, there's also a lot of cons to doing it too that I have to be very conscious of. And as I've been getting more and more, doing more and more thinking, trying to reflect on, positives versus negatives and what consequences will arise out of which choices are made, I'm just trying to be as careful as I can with this decision.
All right. Yeah, because that's going to be a total culture shock if you do follow through with it, and that's going to be something that may take years to adjust. So yeah, there's a lot. Oh yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it's good that I've already been there for 2 weeks, so it's not like I'm completely completely unfamiliar with the culture. But day to day is definitely different than just visiting, and that is definitely going to take a lot of getting used to. Plus, if I end up getting into trouble, either financially or otherwise, I don't have any family members to call on, or like they can't just like shoot their way over. It's not like they can just book the next ticket over to Japan, because as I explained earlier, they are expensive. So yeah, a lot to think about.
I almost forgot about this next question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I think it's a funny question, and I really can't wait to see your answer for this one.
No.
Do you actually want to shove a banana up a woman's... Give me a minute.
All right.
Hold on. Let me finish the question. The audience doesn't know what the question is. You know what the question is, but the audience needs to know.
Just finish it.
Do you actually want to shove a banana up a woman's vagina and eat the banana out with said vagina, or was that a meme?
Fuck my life, dude. Okay.
Listen,
Where to start with this one?
Listen, you made the bed, I am just the hotel maid trying to clean up, so.
Interesting metaphor. But, so yeah, to answer that, loaded question, I see myself as a fairly sex positive person, and I usually don't mind trying new things or be explorative with fetishes, but that is probably something at this point in time, I'm not entirely sure of, and probably just said it on a whim. But if I were to do that, I would say it would probably only be done with someone that I fully trust, and it would also have to be done carefully, because if you do it wrong, you could also mess up. You could do a lot of internal damage. So yeah, highly do not recommend going around sticking bananas in people's hooters. Not the smartest decision. If you want to experiment, that is totally on you. Make sure you do your research ahead of time. It is very, very important.
Oh.
Anyway, moving on.
Yes, moving on. Words to live by. Don't put bananas up your hooter, boys. That's very good. Very good.
Also, I meant to say hooter, not hooter. But whatever. Same difference.
Same hole, different words.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's see here. Do you have any advice to any single men out there who might be in similar circumstances?
Well, I sure as fuck hope that there's no one in any fucking similar circumstances, but if there is, my best advice would be to learn from me. The most that you can. Whatever you do, please, for the love of God, do not make the same fuck-ups that I have. Like, it is not worth it. If you have trouble fitting in somewhere, just give it time. Let it happen naturally. If you don't feel like you still fit in, go someplace else. But trying to force your way in somewhere is only going to end badly and make you look like a terrible person. Like it's made me look like a terrible person. So at the end of the day, patience as well as self-discipline is the key. You have your own goodness to share with the world, and whether people ever realize it or not, only you can make that choice for yourself. And don't get yourself addicted to the same patterns of validation and shame cycling that I have experienced. Just find value in yourself if you can.
The music in the background is making it sound more inspirational than it needed to be, but anyway. Next question. Going along with more heavy-hitting questions. Out of curiosity, would you consider yourself as a religious person?
So I used to be. I was raised Lutheran, and our beliefs back then were very, very strict. Eventually, like around the time that I turned 18, and also around the time that I realized that I was bisexual, I fell out of the faith when I really kind of got to really understand what it was. It wasn't the message that I originally thought it was of peace and forgiveness, but rather just very exclusive and condemning. And I saw that a lot in my family members and still do to this day. As a matter of fact, it's not something that I have really told anybody before, but there is a member in our family who was also raised Lutheran, and she discovered that she was bisexual. I think it was like around the time that she was in college. She's one of my cousins. And our family caught wind of that. They immediately labeled her gay, which is incredibly incorrect. And to the response of coming out, which I give her so much credit for doing that, because that's such a hard thing to do, especially to a Christian family. More importantly, to a Lutheran family. And what my aunt said to her is something that I will honestly never forgive her for saying, because it was so cruel and awful, and no one should ever have to hear that from their godparent. But she said straight to her face when she came out, "I hope you realize you're going to hell." Like, that's, you don't say that. You don't fucking say that to somebody. That is, it's so cruel. And like, she, after that, I don't blame her for distancing herself from our family, because a lot of our family were raised on those beliefs, and anybody who deviated from those beliefs was instantly labeled a sinner or wrong. But Jesus forgives you. Yeah, but we're still gonna make you feel bad about your life choices. So yeah, I just decided to distance myself entirely from the Christian theology, just because, don't get me wrong, the religion itself I don't have a problem with. It's just a lot of people's interpretation of said religion goes way too far. And I would say my family is a perfect example of that.
All right. The reason why I asked that question is, out of everything that people ask about you, I feel like that's one aspect that I felt like should at least be explored. Because a lot of other people who are in the same ilk as you, they've had that kind of facet of their life explored, but not really with you. So that's the reason why I've added the question.
That's fair.
So next question. Out of everything, I mean everything in your career, in your life, what have you, what event is the most regretful? Hard mode, not the I prefer if you stay quiet, or the I like that jumps.
I mean, to be fair, those were pretty small potatoes. I would say out of everything that happened, I would have to say my dating history. I mean, it's fairly well known now that, and we already answered that earlier, that I used to date people under 18 when I was 19 or 20 years old. And I didn't think it was a problem back then, because the age of consent in our state is 16 years. And all of my in-person sexual interactions have been consensual. But this still follows me to this day and gives people pause and the wrong idea about me almost all of the time. And given how much other things have happened with me, it's not really surprising that people want to keep their distance. And of a lesser regret, I do regret not being more patient when it comes to trying to fit in and make friends and seeking validation right away by going to extremes. I've been in so many different situations, including the one recently, where that exact pattern has repeated itself. And I've definitely lost a lot of friends in my life. And, not to garner sympathy or anything like that, but I'm lonelier now than I've ever been. But as they say, every choice has a consequence.
Going back to what you said earlier, in that answer, two things. You said that you admitted that you dated people that were under 18 when you were 19, 20, and then immediately following that, you made comments saying that every sexual encounter you had was consensual. Is there any cross between those two?
Meaning what exactly?
Meaning, was there sexual contact with people who were under the age of 18 during this time, when you were like 19 or 20?
Yes, there were.
Okay. I figured while the iron is hot, might as well ask that question, because I'm sure a lot of people in the chat were kind of thinking the same thing I did. It was like, wait a minute, hold on. I see a 1, I'm gonna plus them. So, anyway.
I mean, but the implication was that, based on the two things that I had discussed, like, I was, even though, yes, I dated people that were younger than 18 when I was that young, but obviously it did go more than that. But I can at least confirm that the anything that I've ever done was always with consent. I've never ever done something without consent, especially in person. That is something that is a rigid standard that I hold myself to, and I hold myself accountable for that.
All right. Well, moving on from that heavy, let's move on to something a little bit more lighthearted. There have been reports that you, good sir, are a brony.
Oh my god. Oh no, stop the presses.
That's most unforgivable. Is this true?
Oh. God, just hang me now. So, yeah, no, I won't deny it. It definitely was a phase. I'm not super into it anymore, but I will say, to its credit, I have nothing but praise for the character design, the animation, and the voice acting in that show, and as well as the really, really good continuity. Like, I mean, Lauren Faust has been known for putting out bangers before. I think she worked on Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends as well. And that was also another one of my favorite shows on Cartoon Network. So it only stood to reason that this was a show that I would enjoy as well. But I didn't go super heavy into the fandom like a lot of other people did. I did enjoy the show, and I did enjoy the characters, but really nothing more than that. And for those who are interested, I would say that my favorite character was probably Rainbow Dash. I loved her attitude, and I don't know, I also liked her design.
We only got a few more questions, and then the real good stuff. Don't you worry, chat.
Yeah, can't wait.
Osaka Con.
Here we go. All right, bring it on.
Personally speaking, in terms of Osaka Con, I wish I would have seen Osaka Con myself, because it would have been a great con, or it would have been like Shudo Con or Godaiko Con, but we will never know because it never came to be. Osaka Con was a convention that was being planned with you and your friends, but has been canned due to an apparent video you made in your youth involving an L cosplay and some admittedly cringe acting. Is there regret to this day involving this incident?
Okay, first off, admittedly cringe? No. It would be completely cringe. Make sure you get that right. Second, I mean, not too many people know that one. That's like going like super meta, like that's going like super like back in the day. Like if you're like a vintage watcher or a vintage I don't know what would you say for that? Whatever. I was thinking of a word, I couldn't think of it. But
the only word that's popping to mind is boomer. But go on.
Boomer, probably, yeah, maybe. But yeah, absolutely. I would say those were definitely my cringiest years, to be honest, because I was still finding out a lot about myself and trying to find my place. Why I decided to shoot that video with a poorly styled L wig, marker on my eyes, and wearing pajama pants while in my basement was anyone's guess. Your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea what went through my mind when I posted that. I cannot even attribute that to any of the above issues that I have listed. That was just really stupid, cringe behavior that I just could have avoided entirely had I thought for 1 second longer. But with proper planning, it could have been a fun, maybe like 1 day event or something that we could have held. But yeah, that video basically tanked it. Also, it's funny that you mentioned Godaiko Con. I don't know exactly how long that con has been around for, but or even if it's still around anymore. I don't think it is.
Nah, it's dead. It's dead.
Okay, I figured. Yeah, I was actually staff for I think one of the first few years. I don't know if it was like the first year or the second year, but that was actually a kind of a cool experience because I actually got to meet a couple of really cool voice actors. I don't know if you're familiar with, well, Chris, unfortunately, has passed away, but Greg Ayers. I got to meet both of them and hung out with them in the green room. And that it was honestly, we got to also hang out in ConOps too, and like ConOps, there's like a big like it was like a big suite room with like a built-in kitchen and stuff like that. So it was a lot bigger than your typical hotel room. But yeah, it was cool. I enjoyed getting to staff a con. I don't know if I do it again, but just for the experience that I had at that particular con and getting to meet like those voice actors, because I think I still have Greg Ayers added on Facebook from way back then, and he was just such a super chill guy. I really hope I get to meet him and talk to him again. Damn, sorry, that was a bit of an aside there.
No,
but
that wonderful information right there. Fun fact. Godaico Con 2014. That was the first time I met Al, Big Al.
Okay.
That was the very first convention. In fact, that was the very first convention I met a lot of my Michigan friends who are still really good friends with to this day. And I remember doing karaoke with Al during I think it was like Friday or Saturday evening. He was doing a Lupin the Third music song, and I did what was it? I don't remember what I did, but we had fun that night. Anyway.
Yeah, I remember he was a big fan of like Lupin the Third and like a lot of those like 80s retro animes.
Yeah, that was a good night. Anyway, let's see. We're getting close to the end.
All right.
Recently, there has been worry of your actions, leading some to believe that you may do something much more reprehensible in the future. How would you like to address these concerns? And just like to clarify, I have seen the number one comparison I've seen is, quote, the Chris Chan of speedrunning in more ways than one. I.e. reference to...
I figured.
Yeah.
Not the first time that I've heard that either, but despite what people might think about me or what their impressions of me are, what people have heard, I am not a malicious person. And I know that I'm not a malicious person. I would never intentionally cause harm to anybody. I know my actions have been wrong. I know why they are wrong. And being autistic has somewhat something to do with that, as I do oftentimes fail to read very obvious social cues, and I also have a lot of difficulty socializing with people, which most of my interactions come from being on my phone, which is probably another question we'll get to soon. But it's not just that. I want to be able to fit in with people and make them happy. That's my bottom line. That's basically the one thing that I've always wanted to do ever since I was just going all the way back, even in grade school, even in high school. But I also feel like I need that acceptance sooner rather than later. And that's what drives me to make very impulsive decisions that I end up taking action on without considering the consequences of said action. And I know I have said that I have changed or will change before, i.e. the Chibi cycle, but that was mostly a lie that I was basically telling myself to make myself feel better. It's kind of like my own way of self-validation. You know how you say, you do talk about how I'm going to do something today, and sometimes that can give you the same dopamine hit as actually doing it. Kind of the same thing, but this is more than just surface level, and this is something that has gone largely unnoticed and unaddressed for decades, and has been the root of so many problems that I've had in life. So, to answer the question, no, I do not have plans to continue this behavior and continuing to hurt people. regardless of what public opinion is.
Cool. I got one last question, then the next part of the next segment. But first, I really need to go to the bathroom. I got pissed like a racehorse. Be right back. For those of you who are anticipating the next segment, please go ahead and grab your friends, grab your popcorn, be ready. I'll be right back.
Oh boy. Well, I can't see anyone in chat right now, but I hope you're enjoying the stream. This has been a very nerve-wracking experience, to say the least. But I could say if it equates to anything, it's like basically ripping a Band-Aid off. It hurts, but it's something you just got to do. And to be fair, talking about a lot of this and just kind of getting it out in the open, it does kind of help to some weird degree. And I guess makes me feel at least a little bit better about, I don't know, accepting everything that happened and not just shirking away from it.
God damn. Anyway.
You did not wash your hands.
I did too. I'm a fast peer. Anyway.
That was the fastest piss I've ever heard.
Anyway. Enough of my piss habits. One last question before the next segment.
Alright.
You and Big Al.
Yep, here we go.
You and Big Al used to be best friends.
Mm-hmm.
It has been several years since you two have fallen out. Would there be any, and I do mean any, consideration to mending that relationship, or has that bridge been burnt?
So, if it were me, I would say the bridge has probably been burnt. I don't know what his feelings are on me. I do remember that quite a few years ago, he kind of condemned me publicly. And I'm sure he's probably really upset over a lot of what has happened. However, he hasn't exactly been a perfect person either while I was hanging out with him. And I'm still a little bit upset over a lot of what he put me through back then. But I do not hate him. I never have. And I believe in second chances. As myself, I'm trying hard to change who I am. I'm sure, I mean, it's been over 10 years probably since I've talked to him. And I'm sure he probably has too. So who knows? Anything is possible, I guess.
Well, I guess we're going to find out. Because we have a special guest. On top of our special guest, we got a 2-for-1 special tonight. Big Al 2K6 is here.
Hey.
So, I'm gonna drop the interview shtick for a moment. I don't know your guys' history. I'm just an outsider here. I'm just a humble host who happens to have the privilege to be the guide to witness this in real time. As far as I know, and as far as you guys know, this may very well be the last time you two will ever speak to each other. I highly advise, if you got something to get off your chest to one another, now's the time. Adam, you go first.
Okay.
Remember, this may be the last time. Both of you, no holds barred.
I understand. So, first, I just want to say I hope you're doing okay. I hope life is treating you well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's been a long time since we spoke. I mean, a very long time. A lot has happened. A lot of time has passed. And I know you definitely think badly of me, as does most everyone. And I just want to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything that I've done. I'm sorry for all the lives that I've hurt. I'm sorry for all the friends that I've hurt, and yourself included. I have done a lot of wrong in my life, and there's a lot of retribution that I have to face. And I hope that going forward, once I get the help that I need and sort things out and get back on track, that eventually I can begin to reconcile either in your eyes or in the eyes of other people. In terms of our history, I met you when I was still a college student at Macomb, and we got along with each other pretty much right off the bat. I think at the time we were talking about YouTube poops or something, because that was relevant at the time.
You were drawing a comic book that I noticed.
Oh,
It
I don't
was
remember.
with YouTube poop. It was from CDI Link,
Yep.
and they said, "Holy shit, is that YouTube poops?" That is
Yep.
how we met.
That's almost crazy to think. Even like this far ahead, just how old we are, how old YouTube poops even are, and I highly doubt they're even a thing anymore.
Oh, they are.
They are.
Oh wow.
They're still being made. Same jokes.
Oh good. Glad to hear the creativity pool has not run dry. But anyway, moving on from that, I appreciate everything that you have done for me. You have been a good friend in most respects, and you've introduced me to a lot of different things. One thing that I wish could have happened a little differently was whenever I was with you or hanging out with you, I would notice a lot of times that the conversation would often go towards you or things that you wanted to do or things you wanted to show me. And little consideration was shown to things that I either wanted to do or wanted to say. And I also know and remember very exclusively that I think you've used quite a few slurs when addressing me before. I won't say them here, but that did also make me very uncomfortable. And just generally speaking, I just kind of wish that we could have seen each other as equals, even though I have a lot of fucked up shit that's wrong with me. I am a very cringy individual, and I will not be the first to admit that. I did a lot of stupid shit, especially when we were still talking to each other. That Osaka Con video was just the tip of the iceberg, and basically snowballed from there. And that's really it. I really wish that things could have ended on better terms. And I know I did a lot of dumb stuff when it came to my dating history. I mean, you remember our friend group was, I would say, very hypersexual in some respects. I don't know if you remember John, but
Oh, I remember John.
yeah, he was a pretty prime example of that. Won't go into details. I'm sure you know all about that. But I know I've done a lot of stupid shit, and I have continuously done a lot of stupid shit, and I'm just now getting to the root of a lot of those problems that have faced me for, like I said, decades, that I didn't even realize were issues to begin with. I know I have a very bad addiction to validation and acceptance, and part of that is an over-reliance on my phone, which that was actually going to be a question that was asked. That was actually a recent discovery that I have made, and that is something I've been working with my therapist to try to overcome the best of my ability. But that's really it. I appreciate everything that you have done in terms of helping me through very difficult parts of my life. I know you were there when I lost my dad, and I was very very upset. It was a very dark time in my life when that happened, and it meant a lot for you to be there at the funeral home with me when I was going through that, because I did not know how to process my emotions, and to this day I still have difficulty processing those emotions of grief. And I just wanted to let you know how much that meant. But that's really it. I know we're not perfect. We were both young, we were both stupid, and age is the best teacher. Or experience is the best teacher, I would say.
Oh god, is he there? Did he drop?
No, he's here.
Oh, no, I'm here.
Okay. No, I didn't catch that last little bit. I'm sorry.
Oh, I said experience is the best teacher.
Yeah.
Al, it's your turn.
Well, I honestly don't have much to say. I don't have much to say about all the, stories, because I wasn't there for them, so I can't really comment on that. But there is one thing I do want to ask Adam, and that is, was he always planning on throwing me under the bus eventually, or did that come after I cut ties with him?
Are you saying me? Like me throwing you under the bus?
Yeah, I see. I'm looking at your fucking Twitlonger right now.
I know.
Where I'm under the story of a rapist.
I remember the one. At the time that I wrote that, I was really angry. I had a lot of resentment inside of me, and I was trying to find any cause for blame that I could. And I put that on you just because of my feelings that I couldn't keep to myself, and I should have kept those to myself. I never should have publicly outed you like that. I know part of that also probably came from after you had cut ties with me and after the things that you said, basically calling me a pedo, and I was still really upset about that. But what I wrote in that Twitlonger was wrong. I should never have wrote that about you.
I drove you places. I fed you. I gave you I opened my door for you. I drove you places way out of my way so you can go to job interviews. I was your fucking shoulder to cry on. I was there when your dad died.
I know.
I'm probably the best friend you'll ever had. I was there when everyone else left.
I didn't acknowledge the good things.
How could you, Adam? After everything I've done for you. And I know I'm not perfect, but goddammit, I was there for you.
I know you were. It's okay, man. Let it out.
That's really all I have to say about that. I don't really have any other comment.
I really do appreciate that. I really do appreciate everything that you've done for me, though. And like I said, words cannot describe how much it meant to me that you were there when I was dealing with my father's passing. I'll never forget that, because I think it was just you, and I think John was there too, but like, you stayed by my side through that whole thing, and I feel like that's when I needed you most. And I'm glad you were there. You did so much for me too. You let me hang out with you a lot. You made me food. Like, basically, like you said, I feel like maybe sometimes I did take advantage of you. I understand the hurt that you feel, and I get it. I felt hurt too, but I let anger get the best of me, and I should never have wrote what I did.
Now, just again, as an outsider here, just out of curiosity, when you say that,
I was going to say, you can chime in anytime, Zach, if you have any questions.
When you say, because I do have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions for both of you, because again, this may be the last time you two ever speak, and you two are already in the history books. You might as well keep going with it. When you say, what was it that you just said? Sorry, my mind just blanked out for a moment.
About what?
When you said that you were sorry for writing what you wrote.
Right.
Were you sorry in terms of, as a friend, as in that you didn't mean to write that was the wrong way of expressing your anger, or are you saying you're sorry to Owl for how he feels about what you've written?
No, I expressed my anger in the complete wrong way. And he is right. He has every reason to feel upset and betrayed, because I did not acknowledge all the good things that he did for me. I only acknowledged the bad. And I made an example of those bad things and made that public, and I never should have.
Several times, for the record.
Mm-hmm.
Owl.
Yeah.
This may feel like twisting a knife a bit, so I'm gonna apologize beforehand.
Okay.
But this is because of my burning curiosity. Do you feel, as of now, there is any chance of a redemption arc for Adam?
Personally, for me, no. He's made his fucking bed.
Response to that, Adam?
I can understand that. I understand how he feels. And I won't deny that.
I'm gonna be chiming in with my own opinion real quick. I have a little brother. He's 13 years old. My parents called me the other day, telling me, Zach, your little brother is just like you. He doesn't want to do his chores. And no matter what we tell him, he doesn't change. Can you talk to him and see what... Because I did the same thing. I never did my chores. It wasn't until after I graduated and moved out of the house that something clicked and I started having responsibilities. And I'm worried that my little brother will never get that click in his brain and he will forever not continue doing his chores. And the conversation I've had with you this evening reminds me of that, where you say you're sorry, you say you're going to learn, but yet at the same time, through your actions and through the events that has happened, not just like 10 years ago, but very recently, hell, like not even a month ago, it doesn't look like the click has happened. And as I watch my friend Adam, Owl, two different A's, brain work here. As I watch my friend Owl hear him for the very first time, no, second time actually, cry. The first time being in a drunken stupor while watching the Star Wars Holiday Special. And hearing you acting as if a child who's once again getting yelled at by the teacher for like the fifth day in a row, therefore emotionless, it makes me wonder if you're sincere about changing and trying to start that redemption, or if we're just going to continue seeing this over and over and over again and watch you devolve into something that could very well be on par, if not worse, than Christian. I use that as an example because that's the most well-known one and honestly the most disgusted one. Does that make sense?
I mean, that's a fair comparison to make. And like I had already mentioned before, I know that I've said a lot of things in the past, and I know that I've mentioned change in the past as well. And I made a couple attempts at it, but eventually I ended up falling into my old habits, and things just kind of continued. So at this point, I mean, the only thing that I can do to prove my case is to literally prove my case. I can sit here and make speeches and make declarations and mantras and whatever, and for as long as I want to, but that's not going to determine what's actually going to happen. It's going to be the actions taken as a result of said declarations, and making sure that those actions are held accountable for, and that the consequences are realized and understood. It was actually something I just talked to my therapist about today, about how earlier today I stayed in my bed for a good portion of the day, and then at some point I was like, why am I still in bed right now? It's already 2:00. I need to start getting stuff done. And at that point I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go outside, I'm gonna walk around for a little bit. Unfortunately that didn't last very long, because then rain started happening. But I know that change is difficult, especially for somebody who has repeated the same behaviors for years and years. And for a person like that to say that they are on the right path to changing, especially after people have been burned so many times, it is very difficult to believe. And I do not doubt or fault anybody who thinks that I won't be able to change and that I will keep making the same mistakes and probably end up in a situation on par with Christian. Only at this point, only time will tell what happens. I know that based on all of the things that have happened in my life and all of the friends that I've lost and all of the opportunities that I've lost and all the pain that I've caused, I hate having to go through all that. It's probably one of the most painful things to experience, especially for somebody who's never really had a lot of friends growing up in grade school and always being the loner. I value human connection as more highly than most people. And it really hurts seeing one of those connections get severed, especially from something that I did. And Al is no exception to this. You know, the actions that I've caused him to go through have caused him a lot of pain. And me just throwing him under the bus like that, just because I got mad, because he said something I didn't like. So I figured I had to get back at him. Like, it's just petty. It's petty behavior. It's childish behavior. And I should have thought more about what I was saying. Like, yeah, there were some things that he did that I didn't agree with, but he's not a bad person. Absolutely not a bad person. Everybody has...
Sorry to interrupt, but there's something that just clicked in my brain here. Is that an actual serious question?
Okay.
Who is Al to you? Was Al your best friend of the world, or is he not quite a human? Like, is he? Because the language you're using, the emotion in your voice and the language you're using, it doesn't sound
Zach,
like...
let me chime in with this. I just poured out 10 years worth of anguish and pain onto you, and you sound like the fucking Clear Eyes guy. Absolutely no emotion, no remorse. So, what the fuck was I to you, Adam?
Because
that's what I want to know.
Because it doesn't sound...
It doesn't sound like I have remorse in my voice, but I do. And I didn't want to be overly emotional on the call because I'm just trying to keep things as... I don't know. I just didn't want to risk being over emotional and saying something that I shouldn't be saying, because when it comes to me and my emotions, I don't have the best control over them. And if I get emotionally charged, then I might say something wrong or say something out of place. But the truth is, I know how you feel, and I know the hurt that you feel. I know I've put you through so much shit. And it's been 10 years. It's been such a long time.
And I was your friend in spite of all that.
You were. Even back then, like, I didn't have the best reputation either. Like, the whole Osaka Con bullshit, like, me being super cringy, that hasn't really changed much.
I'm going to pause real quick because something that the chat is pointing out, and something I would like to point out as well, is that you're now showing emotion after we point it out.
I know.
Even after we drifted apart and weren't talking to each other as much, I still went out of my way to invite you to events, to invite you to my events, to invite you to make you feel wanted, Adam. To make you feel at home. To make you feel loved.
And all I did was spit in your face.
Yeah.
We are now getting on the verge of an anime manga plot, so I do have some more questions. You both were best friends. You both had the falling out. Al had a prolific career as a YouTuber. You had a prolific career as a speedrunner. Do you guys... And I know you guys are, like, I wouldn't say fallen... Well, one of you, I wouldn't say has fallen from grace, but, what do you guys see in each other in the future? Like, I'm talking like, Al, what do you see in Adam's future? Adam, what do you see in Al's future? Like, say, 10, 20 years from now.
Well, 10, 20 years, it's hard to tell, honestly. If I could be 100%, I was probably just the same old shit. I'm just so jaded and hurt and tired right now. It's been the same shit over and over again for the 10 years that I've been with him. Why change now? So there's my answer.
Adam,
Mm-hmm.
what's
Sorry,
your
I need a
answer?
minute. Sorry, I need a minute. Well, I really hope that going forward in the future, I can one day change your mind.
Not your future, Al's future, and your perspective.
Where do you see me in 10 years? Same question you asked me about you.
Okay. In 10 years, I hope that you live out your dream. I hope that you get to do everything in life that you want to do. I hope you have a loving family, children if you want them, a successful career. I mean, you already have a pretty decent career, I would say, as a YouTuber. I would
Well,
say,
that honestly depends. I'm on my probably 7th account, but same old song and dance. But other than
reference.
Other than that.
Chat just said Big Al 2K36.
Oh my god.
Who knows?
100 years, Big Al. Woo!
My god. I mean, if he's lucky to live that long, more luck to him. But regardless of where I end up, I wish you nothing but happiness, man. Because you deserve it. You deserve it for everything that you've been through, everything that I've put you through. I hope nothing for the best, but the best for you, dude. Whether I'm a part of that life or not. That's all.
I feel like I'm witnessing AI writing responses to questions now, but that's just my perspective on it. Back to professionalism. Any last words to each other? Again, just a reminder, not poking the bear or anything, not trying to stoke those flames, but again, this may be the last time you two speak to each other.
I'll start. The only thing I could say, Adam, is good luck. Good luck to you. You're gonna need it. I do hope things change. I'm not holding my breath. I do hope eventually you do find whatever happiness you're looking for. But that's it. You'll get none of it from me.
Adam?
Mm-hmm.
Floor is yours.
Last words.
Please don't treat it like your father's funeral, I swear.
I know. I'm just trying to think of the right thing to say. I mean, I can't really say more than what I've already said, but I do want to thank you for everything. And thank you for being one of the best friends that I could have ever had.
Is that all, gentlemen?
That's all from me.
Me too.
Cool. Allow me to speak some words of my own to you guys, to the chat. Allow me to have some confessions. insights, and personal opinions. Number one, I'm going to admit, originally, this whole shindig was supposed to be a troll. The idea was I do the live stream, do an interview with Adam, and then at the tail end of the interview, we did the surprise guest with Big Al, but Adam wasn't supposed to know. Al was supposed to just drop in the blue and cause hellfire and brimstone. But upon thinking, pondering on it, and realizing the potential here, instead of it becoming a troll, I actually took this seriously. Hence why I was more respectable than I probably should have been to you, Adam. If anything, it has been a goddamn miracle that this has happened at all. And I am thankful to have the privilege of being the guy to host this, let's face it, locale historic event. I've learned a lot more about you. I've learned a lot more about your history, your insights, and a little bit more how you work inside that little cranium of yours. And it helps satisfy my burning curiosity, because I'm a very curious man, especially when it comes to people like you, Adam. It just fascinates me. And yes, this, and this is a response to some of the comments that I'm seeing in the chat, is yes, I do know this is kind of propping myself up here because it's on my channel and I'm the host and all that jazz and stuff. And I acknowledge that. And I am thankful for that. Hence why I say it's a privilege. So once again, thank you both for allowing me the privilege. The other thing, this is my personal opinion, based on from what the answers you gave me, my observations during your two meetings, stuff like that, and just the history we've known from like the last year, from what my interactions have been with you. I'm the type of guy who believes in redemption stories. I'm the type of guy who likes to see the bad guy turn good again at the last call. And while your percentages of that happening is literally 0.0001 and a half, that's still like a small sliver of a chance that you don't fuck up. Like that one alternate reality where Christian actually went to college and he got married and he has a kid and he's actually, you know, being well kept. I believe that some universe out there, there's an Adam that hasn't fucked up and is probably out making millions of dollars streaming on Twitch doing speedruns and not being a buffoon. And it pains me and downright pisses me off when I hear words coming out of your mouth saying, I'm gonna change, I guarantee it, this is the first step, blah blah blah, and then immediately afterwards you do some stupid bullshit because you got too comfortable, which that's the thing that kind of strikes me as strange, is like you get comfortable and then you do stupid shit. It makes me wonder what you do behind closed doors, but that's a conversation for another day. Like, you said almost to verbatim the exact same stuff you said after you got caught with the unsolicited nudes in the Colossalcon chat, the same way you responded to the catfishing and getting kicked out of our Colossal room last year, almost to verbatim. And I couldn't help but laugh. So while I do hope that there is a small, slimmer chance of you going down the right path, whether that be going to therapy, finding God again, or some other religion, or just trying to cut away from the internet and social media entirely and just being a member of society. At the same time, to be honest, I really can't wait to see what you do next. Because if it's anything like you've done before in your past, it's going to be funny as hell to me. So either way, either path you choose, remember this: I will win. Either you redeem yourself and become a better person, I'm proud of you for it, or you continue this path, become an even greater locale than could ever be imagined, and I will laugh until I'm 6 feet under. Or until you're 6 feet under. Or until both of us are 6 feet under at the same time, if statistically that improbability ever happens. Either way, I will win. And either way, that's up to you. But remember this: I will always be watching. I will always be laughing. And I will always be there, in a metaphorical sense. Here's some advice. Don't go to conventions. Don't interact with discords that are a little more comfortable than they seem. Don't double guess yourself, but also be careful. Be honest, but respectable. And whatever you fucking do, keep your fetishes to yourself. Your fetishes are to you, your God, and your wife, when you get one. If you get one. God forbid. Got it?
Understood.
Gentlemen, once again, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you, chat, for watching and viewing. And until next time, farewell.